My name's Fred Winter, and I'd like to thank you for participating in today's webinar. Welcome to the Spring 2023 Implementation Overview for Invest in Kids Act schools, focusing on the PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 Spring Administration. A copy of today's presentation is located on ISBE's Invest in Kids Act assessment page. Now let's begin with sharing updates for the Spring 2023 implementation of PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 for the students who receive scholarships under the Invest in Kids Act. We're going to start today's discussion by sharing some basic facts about the PSAT 10 and the PSAT 8-9 Spring Administration under the Invest in Kids Act and your school's interaction with the College Board. We'll discuss key topics such as school establishment, offsite testing, the accommodations process, and how to order tests within College Board's test ordering system. ISBE is providing a test window for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 to its public schools from April 12th through April 28th. Invest in Kids Act schools must therefore choose a test date for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 from within this time period. A few key points to remember for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. For students who are receiving the scholarship, if a student is absent on the primary date of the administration, the student must take a rescheduled primary administration the following date within the initial test window the school selected. Test materials must be returned no later than April 29th. A general timeline is available under the Invest in Kids Act assessment page that highlights these key dates. The final date for schools to complete the Invest in Kids Act Establishment Survey was December 9th, 2022. There are several other key deadlines that we'll review. The offsite testing form is not required for schools that order from the test ordering system. The dates for requesting accommodations for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 are listed. Please note the dates for requesting extended time for English learners are different than those for College Board accommodations. There are several slides devoted to the accommodations process within today's webinar. To ensure schools are able to order and administer PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 within College Board's test ordering system, we're reviewing the status of each school's attending institution or AI code. If there's any action needed to be taken by the school to be prepared for spring testing, the school's principal will be contacted. Schools that have an existing Level 2 AI code will be able to place orders in College Board's test ordering system. ISBE will contact schools that need to apply for an AI code to administer PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. We'll now discuss the eligibility criteria to order and administer PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 in spring of 2023. Schools must have a Level 2 Attending Institution or AI code to participate in the spring administration. In Illinois, the AI code begins with a 14 and is a 6-digit code. If your school has ordered materials in the past and has administered assessments for PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, PSAT NMSQT, SAT, and/or AP, the school is prepared to order tests for the spring administration. As previously mentioned, to ensure schools are able to order and administer PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 within College Board's test ordering system, we're reviewing the status of each school's attending institution code. If there's any action needed to be taken by the school to be prepared for spring testing, the school's principal will be contacted. ISBE will contact schools that need to apply for an AI code to administer PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. Let's review the materials that must be used for the Spring 2023 PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 administration. The ISBE Invest in Kids Act is the best place to locate up-to-date information, as well as to locate the 2023 PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 manuals, student answer sheet instructions, and student guides. The ISBE Invest in Kids Act assessment page includes links to the manuals, student answer sheet instructions, and student guides that should be used for the Spring 2023 administration. Additionally, the general timeline document and the SAT-PSAT comparison chart are helpful documents to support Invest in Kids Act test coordinators in their planning for the spring administration. We'll now discuss the options for completing test coordinator training for the spring administration. Test coordinators will complete the training available within their College Board Educator account. SSD coordinators are recommended to complete the updated SSD online training available at the hyperlink on the slide. Now let's discuss the process for offsite testing for the PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9. Offsite testing may be used if a school is unable to comply with testing conditions due to the following reasons. The school is unable to comply with testing conditions due to inadequate space, or the school is unable to comply with testing conditions due to insufficient number of personnel. Schools administering the PSAT 10 and the PSAT 8-9 under the Invest in Kids Act are not required to complete an offsite testing request form. As noted, orders are placed within the test ordering system. For the PSAT 10 and the PSAT 8-9, test coordinators will select the off-site testing sites and order materials for those sites accordingly. To ensure accurate test material tracking, security, and adherence to test administration policies, record the off-site testing location name and testing room codes. Provide test books in intact bundles, and record the number of test books provided to each off-site testing location. Order extra materials in proportion to the number of off-site testing locations you're using to avoid the need to break test book bundles. College Board recommends that schools return materials from off-site and primary test locations in one consolidated shipment for each test administration date if possible. Now let's transition to discussing the accommodations and supports that are available to students for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9. Accommodation requests approved by the College Board are required for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. Accommodations requests must be submitted by the SSD coordinator in the SSD system to be approved before the ordering deadline. SSD coordinators will use SSD Online to submit accommodation requests on the behalf of students. Students can have multiple SSD coordinators. If the SSD coordinator is new, the linked form on the slide must be completed. Once approved, students remain approved for College Board accommodations for all other College Board assessments, including AP exams. If a student's ISP or Individual Service Plan, IEP, or 504 changes, the SSD coordinator can modify the requested accommodations in SSD Online. Therefore, if a student received College Board's approved accommodations from an optional fall administration of PSAT NMSQT or PSAT 8-9, the accommodations will still apply for spring testing. If students test with any accommodations that are not pre-approved by the College Board, scores for those students will not be reported. Each school should follow state and district procedures for collecting consent to request accommodations for students with disabilities and also for English learners as applicable. Copies of consent forms can be downloaded from collegeboard.org using the URL here on the slide. Accommodations requests are submitted by each school's SSD coordinator via SSD Online. For students testing under the Invest in Kids Act, accommodation requests must be entered in SSD Online for all three assessments, PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, and SAT School Day. The entry of PSAT 8-9 accommodations is required for state assessments. Therefore, for students testing under the Invest in Kids Act, accommodations must be entered for students in grade 9. This guidance is not provided in College Board's SSD Online. After accommodations have been entered and approved in SSD Online, the test coordinator must place an order for any required non-standard materials. For students testing under the Invest in Kids Act, accommodation requests must be entered in SSD Online for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. After approval for accommodations is provided, Test coordinators must order non-standard test formats for students who need them. English learners are able to utilize EL supports for spring 2023 testing, and these supports include use of an approved word-to-word bilingual dictionary, use of translated test directions, and 50% extended time. Students may use one or any of these supports in combination. The use of an approved word-to-word bilingual dictionary does not require approval in SSD Online. Translated test directions will be available in PDF format for each assessment. Schools must print the directions for students. No printed directions will come with test materials. The translated test directions are available at the URLs listed on the slide for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9. Another English learner support is the use of time and a half. Students will receive time and 1/2 on each section of the assessment, and students must sit for the entire time allotted and cannot go ahead in the test, even if they're the only one testing. Although not an accommodation, EL students requiring time and a half will need to be identified in SSD Online. Schools can request 50% extended time for ELs now through the English Learner Support dashboard in SSD Online. Students will be automatically approved and no supporting documentation is required. The deadline to request extended time for English learners is February 24th for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9. SSD coordinators are recommended to complete the updated SSD Online training available at the hyperlink here on the slide. Now let's transition to College Board's test ordering system. Schools order PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 tests through the College Board test ordering system at this URL. The cost for the spring 2023 PSAT 8-9 is $14. The cost for the spring 2023 PSAT 10 is $18. The test ordering system is available now for placing orders for the April 23rd PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 administrations. Within the test ordering system, coordinators are able to manage several processes for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. These include placing and managing standard and non-standard test orders, ordering student guides for PSAT 10, verifying materials ordered, and completing the invoicing process. To place orders in the test ordering system, a coordinator must have the following: a College Board Educator Professional account. If the coordinator is creating an account for the first time, the coordinator will need the school's 6-digit Level 2 AI code. And a test ordering access code. If a test coordinator needs the test ordering access code, PSAT customer service should be contacted. If a test coordinator has previously placed exam orders in the test ordering system, then there's no need to create a new account nor receive a new test ordering access code. The ordering deadline for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 is February 24th. As a reminder, the deadline to submit accommodations for 9th and 10th grade students is February 21st. For Step 1, the test coordinators will select an administration test date. Note, when selecting PSAT 8-9 or PSAT 10 tests, the user will be provided a calendar to select a date. In Step 2, the test coordinator will select standard and non-standard test quantities and accept the terms and conditions. Please note, orders for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 must be placed separately within the test ordering system. The test method must be paper, as digital orders should not be placed. In Step 3, please identify or confirm the test coordinator, billing coordinator, and confirm the shipping and billing address. Then in Step 4, enter the number of standard test takers. In Step 5, order accommodated test materials if needed. And finally, in Step 6, confirm the final order. Now let's discuss a high-level overview of the invoicing timeline. Schools send payments to the College Board after reviewing the details of the invoice within the test ordering system. If your school opted to offer PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9, please see the cost of those tests listed on the slide. Finally, as a reminder, the following next steps should be taken to prepare for the spring 2023 administration. Confirm the PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 test coordinators have access to the test ordering system. Place orders for the spring 2023 PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 test administrations by February 24th. Orders cannot be placed after this date. Review the test coordinator manuals and complete the test coordinator training available in the Professional Educator account. Visit ISBE's Invest in Kids Act assessment page for more information. Contact the ISBE contact, Rob Potempa, at rpotempa@isbe.net with any additional policy questions. This concludes today's recorded webinar on the spring 2023 implementation of the SAT with Essay, PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 for Invest in Kids Act schools. Thank you for listening.